In McDowell County, there are people who are angry.
Tell him to drink it. If he can drink that filth in the way it looks, tell him to give it to him, his wife, and his kids, because I wouldn't drink it, and I wouldn't give it to my kids, and I don't.
In McDowell County, there are people who have lost hope.
No, I just soon talk this pump house here, talk to them.
In McDowell County, there are people who are afraid.
They are afraid of what the company may do to them if they stand up and talk against the company.
Most of us tend to take drinking water for granted. We turn on the tap and out comes water. That's the way it is in 20th century America, right? Wrong. The people of McDowell County have been plagued for years with water problems. There have been horror stories of water contaminated with bits and pieces of animal parts, water that is swirling with slime, and in many cases, no water at all. Nearly every state agency involved in the regulation of water utilities agrees that McDowell County probably has more problems with its water system than any other area in the state. One state official said that McDowell's systems are very near the bottom of the barrel. There's a sense of frustration here, and a feeling that no matter what happens, nothing will keep these systems from going down the tubes. To understand this feeling of helplessness, one only has to look at the community of Jenkins Jones. Jenkins Jones is a small coal camp of 117 families. Chances are you won't find it on most maps of West Virginia. Yet Jenkins Jones is probably the best example of a rescue operation gone sour. Before 1979, Jenkins Jones was serviced by a private water company. Life was tough, to say the least. At times, the water ran black as coal. The state health department condemned the water on 2 occasions. The system was literally falling apart at the seams. To rescue this sinking system, state officials recommended establishing a public service district. By doing so, Jenkins Jones would be eligible to receive state funding to rebuild its waterworks. A $500,000 grant was obtained. A new plant was built. 5 miles of new mains were installed. The old sources of water were sealed off, and water was purchased from the nearby town of Anawalt. Finally, it seemed that the residents of Jenkins Jones would have quality water. But the future proved to hold new troubles.
We've had water problems since the water was first installed about 2 years ago. The water at times is dirty. We also have suffered days that we went without water.
When you wash white panties, they turn rust brown. That is a fact.
My son is a senior this year, and that's why I ain't bought him no nice shirts, because I don't want him fucked up in that shit.
That's right.
Within the short span of 3 years, this model system began to fall apart. Residents once again began to complain about the quality of water, this time to the McDowell County Commission.
And they say this is purified. I'd hate to see filthy water.
I certainly agree with you.
And I can bring you clothes and show you where they're ruined from that right there.
And I went through every channel there was. I called the Red Cross. I called down here. I called the public service. I called everybody. I had to call the governor's aide. And finally, we got this set up down here. But it still doesn't help me a bit, because I no longer live up there. I had to leave my home from up there because the man would not put the water back up there.
The man is Nathan Finney, president and sole board member of the Jenkins Jones Public Service District. The hearing was called at the request of the Public Service Commission, which sought to dissolve the water district and put Mr. Finney out of business. What became evident during the course of this hearing was that Mr. Finney had neither the engineering training nor the management skills needed to operate a water utility. In 5 years of operation, he had submitted only 1 annual report, and that was rejected.
Yes, sir.
His system of bookkeeping was described as haphazard. Monthly water bills were collected in person. Receipts were kept in a shoebox. There wasn't even a bank account, making the required audits impossible.
It needs someone who will take it upon themselves to find someone to do the repairs. I mean, I wouldn't have to necessarily know what was wrong, but by golly, I could go find someone that could find out what was wrong for me. And I think that's the problem we're faced with here. And the thing that concerns...
Is it a management problem, you think?
Yes, I think it's definitely a management problem.
With little prospect of things being turned around under Mr. Finney's management, the County Commission took the only course of action it could.
It is our decision, upon Commissioner Church's motion, that the Jenkins Jones Public Service District be dissolved and that jurisdiction over that water system be turned immediately over to the town of Anawalt.
I think the basic problems of the system are there is no one there to maintain the system. If you don't correct these problems, then 10 years down the line, the cost of correcting the problems will be so astronomical that the ratepayers can never afford to pay for it. And then you have a system that it's falling apart long before its time.
What happened here in Jenkins Jones is not the exception. Rather, it's the rule. Too small to get the attention of state regulatory agencies, systems like this tend to fall between the cracks. It's only until they become chronic violators with insurmountable problems that the state begins to take notice.
There's nothing that I've ever come across that can affect your frame of mind, your quality of existence, other than poor water service. People have been plagued by that here for decades.
McDowell County was once thriving coal country. Now ruins of coal mines litter the hills and hollers. Coal companies which developed McDowell County provided the original water systems for most of the isolated camps. But as the coal seams were exhausted, the companies closed the mines and pulled up stakes. Most coal companies sold off whatever assets remained, including the water systems.
And since that time, which has been 30 or 40 years, those systems have seen little or no maintenance, and we are now paying the price for 30 years of neglect down there.
Small and very small systems dominate the state of West Virginia. But the southern counties of Logan, Mingo, Wyoming, and McDowell have the greatest concentration of small systems. McDowell leads the state with 50. Whether public or private, these small water companies have two common problems: quantity and quality of water. Fluctuating water sources cause seasonal shortages. Nearly all have water loaded with iron, manganese, and sulfur.
We have to make a distinction also between safe water and what people would consider satisfactory water. In terms of safe water, McDowell County has a very good record. They compare favorably with the rest of the state. By satisfactory water, we mean water that looks good, tastes good, smells good, you don't mind washing a baby in it. McDowell County is somewhere near the bottom. The equipment either just doesn't exist or it's not adequate to treat the problem water that we have in that area.